If I click on go live, that means we go live.
Yeah.
And we are live.
Hey
Hello,
guys.
hello. Goodness gracious. Nice to be with you all. Hello, hello. Hi, Dina.
Hi, Father Fish.
Nice to be. Yeah, Facebook is. We're on Facebook. Let's shut the volume off there. Here. Okay, we're getting it all together here. Yeah, we're on. We got backup from your YouTube. Or wait a minute, maybe it's mine.
I don't
Have
know.
I got?
I'm double checking on mine now to make sure. Yeah, all mine's muted.
I think I've got another channel open somewhere. Is it? Is it? I'm hearing myself.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a feedback.
Yeah, and it's probably me.
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback.
Let's get rid of some stuff. I got too many things open, I think.
I know the feeling on that.
Let's see, is that it?
I think
Yeah,
I did
that's
it.
it. I think I did it. Now I gotta figure out how to get back. How to get back. I shut everything down. Oh God, it makes me crazy.
Good thing is we can still see you.
I really need a techie.
Yeah.
I really do need a techie. Here's I love my little fishies is here, and I'd love to play it, but I know it'll just frustrate me no end if I try.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
So I ain't gonna try. I'm gonna go into my channel. I'm gonna bring up the live stream, and then I'm gonna look at Adam Armbruster is here. Hey, Adam. Nice to see you. Adam just joined the Venice Aquarium Society.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, isn't that fun? So, and House of Pisces is saying, Dear John, what are the orange fish right behind me? They're gold severums. And I've got three in there. I'm pretty sure I have a pair. Pretty sure. Armbruster, Dollar Nerd. Ooby doo. Morningstar Quaid ordered plants, waiting for him to show up. Well, hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. The holidays really throw us into a tailspin. A Monday holiday means we lose 3 ship days. We lose the ship day before the holiday, which would be Friday. We lose the day of the holiday, Monday, and we lose Tuesday because we can't get our product in until Wednesday. So plants that would normally go out on Tuesday, which would be all of the stem plants, we can't do them until they come in on Wednesday. So the holidays set us back. Plus, that's 3 days. We do not ship on Thursday so that we don't run into 4-day shipping cycles. So we have lost 4 days. The Monday has cost us 4 days of shipping. So we're behind a week. Before we even get started, we're behind a week. We did not ship Thursday or Friday, which means all of the plants that were supposed to go out then did not go out. We have tried to save them. We've lost easily half of them, and probably will simply have to dispose of all of them because they deteriorate. And we're not going to send out weak plants, deteriorated plants. So that means we can't do anything until Wednesday. and then we can't ship on Thursday. So we only have 2 ship days next week, Wednesday and Friday. And we will have by that time about approaching 200 orders. No way in this world we'll get 200 orders out in 2 days. We usually average 50 to 60. We can do 50 to 60 orders a day. So all that is to say is if you ordered plants this week, you probably are not going to get them next week. You will get them the week after. Those who have ordered plants in the last 2 weeks will be first priority this week. You will get your plants this week. We will guarantee that. Everybody else is going to be set back a week. So if you order now this week, you'll be getting your plants next week. That's not so bad. So I think we'll be back on track. But it just, and I've got 2 girls that do all of this, and they are absolute heroes. I mean, they're just amazing. They really are. So anyway, there's all that. Where's my fly swatter? I have a fly that will not leave me alone.
I've been having that problem today too.
Where I can't find the fly. So here it is. It's under my keyboard. All right,
Hey,
I'm gonna be swatting flies here with
I don't blame you.
my magic fly swatter. You don't want to smack a kid with that.
Right?
That's
My granny would have loved that. That's what she would have done.
This is a great one. It's hard. You can't bend it, and the plastic is rigid. I mean, you can bend it a little, but it ain't floppy at all.
My granny would have been in love with that thing. Everybody, she'd have got everybody with it when they stepped out of line.
Yeah, it's better than a stick, right? Father Fish and the Swatter might make a good animated short. I don't know about that.
Hey, Father Fish, Deacon's got a question for you. When's the best day to place an order?
Jay, the best day to place an order. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to get David Dina wrench here. Oh. Probably the weekend. Probably because those are the first things we deal with in the week is stuff that's come in over the weekend. Anything that comes in during the week gets put off a day or two, or even if it comes in by Wednesday, it probably is not going to go out until the following week. But if we get orders and we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday orders in on Monday morning. We print all those out. We separate them into appropriate groups, and we work on that pile on that day and forward. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday, if we have the plants, all of those will be out. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest if you want to order on the weekend. Good question. Hadn't really thought about it. Ain't no flies on my fly swatter.
What you gotta do is you gotta do like me, get you a German Shepherd and teach him to catch the flies. Then you don't have to worry about it.
What should I add to tap water when I fill my tank? Morningstar Quaid wants to know what to add to tap water when he fills his tanks. What to add to tap water when he fills his tanks.
I've got real water, so I never add anything.
Yeah, well, you know, Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Kind of ordered dead flies as fish who won't have near enough. Oh, flies, flies. Now he that's arm rooster. He posted something just before that that says message retracted. Only you got to see what it was,
Yeah, I didn't get
and
to
you
see
did.
it.
Yeah, it didn't say flies. It said flyers. Kind of ordered dead flyers. And only didn't say dead, I don't think. Can I order flyers? And I thought, well, yeah, what are you going to do with flyers?
Yeah.
Sure. And then
But
it disappeared and dead flies came up. Sodium ascorbate powder. It's sodium ascorbate will remove chlorine and chloramine. If you have chloramine, that's a good fix. And the benefit of it is that it is 100% harmless. No matter what quantity you put in, it may slightly affect the pH. Other than that, it's not going to have a negative effect on anything. It's not toxic on any level. So, yeah, that's why I've gone from sodium thiosulfate and some of the other heavy chemicals to vitamin C because it does the job. And if you dump the whole bottle in, it doesn't hurt anything. So it's totally harmless. That's okay to add. When I say nothing, I mean if you have chlorine in your water and you put plants in your water and you spray the water going in and put a bubbler in there, by day 2, there will be no chlorine in that water at all. It will have gassed off. Now, if you have chloramine, the plants will take a little longer to break that down, but they will break it down because they will break down the ammonia. They'll pull the ammonia out of the chloramine and consume the ammonia, and then the chlorine will gas off. So you don't really need to put anything in there, particularly if you're not putting fish in until day 2. And I do recommend day 2. Andrew, any natural way to keep green, sticky, stringy algae under control instead of removing it daily? Well, yes and no. I still recommend removing it daily. But if you put more plants in, here's the thing about algae. I just had a light go out. Let me turn it back on because it's lighting the left side of my face, which is helping me to be blind in my left eye, which somehow at this moment in my perverse life seems desirable.
Father Fish, I almost spit my coffee on the keyboard. You got me good.
Green, sticky, stringy algae. Um, there are nearite snails will eat it. Get nearite snails. There really isn't much else. You can try clown clown loaches. That's not a guarantee, but clown loaches are pretty good algae eaters. Um, but adding more plants, what that does, how can I explain this? Generally, you get algae because of a spike in nitrates, which is the way nature controls nitrates with plants, and if plants are not available with algae. As algae comes in through the air. I mean, algae is a spore that is in the air. It's in the environment.
Mhm.
It's moving all the time. There is no body of water anywhere on Earth that is impervious to single cell algae because it wafts through the air.
Yeah.
And it'll fall in water and indiscriminately. It will take root, that is to say, it will replicate if there are adequate nutrients in that water. So it takes advantage of that, it controls those nitrates. So the solution is to reduce nitrates. Now, there are a lot of different ways to do that. A lot of people do it with water changes. Unfortunately, there are unintended consequences of doing that. The major one of which is that at some point you're going to do that and every fish in the tank is going to die. And that's just the law of averages because at some point that water change is going to be toxic and you won't have any way to know whether it is or not until you do it. So water changes, routine water changes are dangerous. You might get away with it for 10 years. But on that first day of the 11th year, your fish are going to die. I mean, I've seen this happen too many times. Too many times people do water changes, something goes wrong, whether unforeseeable or not, and the fish are stressed out to the point where the whole tank collapses, crashes. So that's not a really good solution. It is necessary. There are times when it is necessary to do water changes. Don't I never want to be I never want to be treated as one who absolutely refuses to ever do a water change. I do water changes and I do water changes in my permanent tanks 3, 4, maybe 5 times a year, depending on the tank. Usually it's 3 to 4 every 3 to 4 months. Typically, I do about 30% water change, 25 to 30% water change. And I do that mostly to make myself feel better. But I also do it because I notice that something is going on in that tank where the water is becoming thick. It's becoming kind of off color, kind of murky, not green, not brown, but sort of and not even yellow really, more like slimy kind of, just
Yeah.
not healthy. And if I do a partial water change, whatever it is that causes that will be broken down and it'll return to a normal environment. It's really a matter of being able to look at the water. I had a friend, Henry Hall. I've mentioned Henry Hall a few times. Henry Hall, I met him when he was 80 years old. He had the largest collection of tropical fish, the largest collection of large tropical fish I had ever seen in my life. He had, I don't know how many, about 40 tanks in his basement,
Wow.
every one of which was 100 gallons or larger.
Wow.
And not one of those tanks had more than one fish in the tank. They were all bare tanks. They all had a sponge filter basket sitting on top of the tank with an air pump lifting water into that sponge that dripped back down in the tank. That was his filtration system. He did not have lights on the tanks. He did water changes as needed. He did not do routine water changes. But he would notice, he could tell by looking at the water what the pH was, and by the
Wow.
behavior of the fish, what the
Yeah.
pH of the water was. He could tell if that water was a little off. And he would change half of it typically. I saw him change half of it. I think I saw him change water in 2 tanks in the 2 years I knew him. He didn't have the tanks for 2 years. That's a little unfair. He met me because he wanted to donate the tanks and the fish to the National Aquarium. And of course, I was on the board of the aquarium at the time, and that just kind of became a natural thing to do. So we took them, set up a big display. This was before the aquarium was built. The display ran at the Baltimore City Fair that weekend. And then we moved them into the Science Museum, and they lived there until the aquarium got built. The Science Museum maintained that display. They have it to today. In fact, it's become a really major display focusing on the fish of the Chesapeake Bay, which is just wonderful. It's a really excellent display. In any case, Henry could tell the condition of the water by looking at it, and have learned how to do that to somewhat of a degree. Yeah, I can look at a tank and know I've got 2 tanks right now. I need to do a water change, and because um, one of them because I pulled a lot of fish out and brought them into here, and there's not much left in there, and the tank is out of balance because it doesn't have adequate fish. The other one is a tank that just has too much tannin in it, and the plants are not doing well. So I want to take care of those two. Um, so the solution then, back to this string algae thing, the solution is essentially to add more plants. You can reduce the water a little bit. It's not going to solve the problem. It'll resolve it momentarily, but the problem is not caused by what's dissolved in the water. The problem is caused by what is being dissolved in the water. That is an ongoing process. So to control that ongoing process, you can do water changes every day, or you can affect the chemistry of the water. You can affect what's going on. And the way you affect that is simply by adding more plants. And here's the secret: rooted and stem complex plants absorb algae before algae well, absorb. Let me slow down here. Complex plants absorb nitrates before algae absorbs nitrates. In other words, algae are a step behind the plants. So if you have adequate plants, you're not going to have algae because the plants are controlling it. Now, I have had tanks where I've had massive amounts of plants and still had algae. And the reason for that was I had excess lighting. I went through a period up until a couple of months ago where I was deliberately overlighting tanks. I did it for about 6 months. I had 500 watts of light on my 30-gallon 4-foot tank. 5 floodlights, LED 100-watt floodlights, right alongside each other. Just the whole top was covered with them. It was fine for a while, and then it began to lose integrity. And it was losing integrity by virtue of hair algae beginning to grow on the plants. There was so much light going in there that no matter how many plants I had, they couldn't deal with, they couldn't do all the photosynthesis. So that light then was causing the algae to photosynthesize and take advantage of what it then was producing as excess nitrates, because the fish were also substantially more active and thereby producing more nitrates. Kind of a complicated issue, and I really wanted to do it to see that, to understand that, and it was a lesson well learned. I've reduced that to 300 watts, and it's doing beautifully at 300, which is still quite a lot of light on what really is a small tank. Um, but it's not coned. The LED lights are beam lights, they're straight beams. If they're in a concave little fixture that'll be able to spread the light some, it will concave, but you got to get them elevated pretty high to be able to do that. The lights I have on these tanks back here are now elevated about 8 inches, and it is making a difference. You can see on the bottom when I have two, and they're pretty effectively lighting the entire tank. The one above it is dark on this end, so I need a third light there. We didn't get that done today. That's going to be done tomorrow. All right, that was kind of a long haul. What else we got? Green stringy sticky algae. I use AquaSafe. Somebody said, where is that?
Yeah, I'm at the bottom at 6:22. So, what timestamp you got?
I don't know, 6:17. I'm backing up because I missed almost everything. Have you been keeping track here of the chat?
Somewhat. I lost track a little bit because I've got bad hair algae problems in one of my tanks, and I was listening to what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Thick water, Paul calls it. Yeah, that's what it is. It's thick water. Yeah, and you're right. It does happen most commonly with nano tanks. That's absolutely true. Viscosity of oil. It's really not oil, but it does have a viscosity to it. It's absolutely right. Got that one.
Hey, got one down.
Catfish Viking. We got a bunch of new people in here. I need to get them all
Yeah.
wrenched up here. Everybody turns blue. Alex, I did Alex. Stan Pittman, hey Stan. Noel, 211. What else?
Dean Stevenson's got a really good question. What kind of
Okay.
sponge filter would you recommend for DIY sponge filters? For do-it-yourself
I'm sorry.
sponge filters?
Where is this? I don't understand.
It's down at 6:24. Every time I try to, yeah, it's timestamp 6.
What kind of sponge would I recommend for DIY sponge? Yeah, it's an interesting question. I got a comment yesterday, I think, from somebody who has been really successful with the food web system, and they said something that kind of blew my mind. And I determined it makes so much sense. I really want to try it. I have been for a long time now, for years, absolutely sold on fine mesh sponge filters and not coarse mesh. The coarse mesh are made for ponds. They're made to hold a lot of sludge. Uh, and that's kind of been my mentality about it, that the fine mesh is better for a tank. This guy said he's got a coarse mesh sponge filter in his tank, and it is harboring huge quantities of microfauna and macrofauna.
Wow.
And I thought about that. Wow,
Yeah,
that absolutely makes perfect sense.
it does.
It just, I mean, it never dawned on me.
Yeah, I would
you
have
know,
never thought of it.
I've been so closed to the correspond shoulder because they really don't do as good a job of clarifying
Mhm.
the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with these deep substrates, we don't need them to do that particularly.
Mhm.
What we do need is to be able to provide really good, safe resources for microfauna so they don't get all gobbled up.
Yeah.
So, in answer to the question, I would simply suggest that you look at that possibility as well. Erie is here. R.I.P. Fly, right? Did that one dirty.
At least you
Oh,
got finally got rid of it.
well, I've killed three here now, and
Yeah.
that might have been it. I don't see another one flitting around. I probably will. They're probably out in the back. They'll make it up here. One just landed on my hand.
Oh no.
All right, here we go. My RO unit arrived, starting the process of lowering KH levels. Stan Pittman. Yeah, he was talking about obscenely high KH, as I recall. You don't want to drop that to zero. Don't get it down. Don't let it get down below 100. That should be your absolute bottom. 100 kh, unless you're doing some kind of fancy killie or some kind of uh, um, chocolate gourami or that sort of thing, something that is coming out of RO 3.0. By the way, did you guys see the fella from Pittsburgh who came up in the live stream Wednesday night, the show and tell, with an utterly magnificent collection of fish? I mean, a stunning, stunning collection of fish. And he is keeping them all in 6.0 water. Now, he's doing that because that's his water. He's
Yeah.
not changing it to that. He lives in Pittsburgh. That water is all filtered to the point where the filtration system in the mountains is like an RO system. It strips everything out. There's no limestone. So nothing is being put back in. It is it is pure water with literally nothing in it. So 6.0. And he's keeping fish alive that typically are kept in 8.0 water.
That's impressive.
So here's the lesson, and it's a really important lesson. Virtually every fish, with some few exceptions that are essentially temporary exceptions, every single fish in fresh water can live in water regardless of the pH. The critical issue is that it is stable. So if you if you have fish that are in 8.0 water and you decide you want to put them in 6.0 water, you better spend 6 months doing it.
Mhm.
Because if you do it in a couple of days, they're all going to be dead. They
Yeah.
won't survive it. But if you spend the 6 months very gradually, very slowly, drop that pH a tenth of a point a day for 6 months, you'll get it down to 6.0, and you'll be able to keep every fish in there alive and healthy. And in many ways, it's a better environment because bacteria does not grow in in very low pH water. You don't get bacterial infections. You also don't get the kind of breakdown of waste that you do um, in a higher pH system, which means you have to be much more concerned about that feature. You don't get the plant growth. There are plants that will grow in low pH. All of the eponogetans, for example, will grow in low pH. And you can do a deep substrate in low pH water. The substrate is not going to affect the pH of the water substantially at all. It'll be 8.0 pH in that dirt and 6.0 pH in the water. And the sand keeps them, excuse me, keeps them separated from each other. Anyway, alkaline water, Marty says. Yeah, alkaline water. Most everybody has alkaline water. Alkaline water is more common. It's rare to have neutral water. It's extremely rare to have very low pH, very low KH water. Most water is alkaline, and most fish do absolutely fine in alkaline water. Fish like chocolate gouramis, which 3 years ago, 5 years ago, could not be kept in water above 6 point or 7.0, are now being kept in 8.0. They've been spawned, and the fry have grown up in harder water, higher pH over a period of several generations, and they're now thoroughly acclimated to 8.0 water. But it didn't happen overnight, didn't happen instantly. It happened gradually. So you can do it, but it's got to be gradual. Chocolate gourami cornmeal is hungry. He wants to eat the chocolate gouramis.
It's not made out of chocolate.
Yeah, they're very fishy. They're not sweet at all. They're very fishy tasting. Oh dear. Noel, what's he kidding about?
I'm not really sure.
A shout out. Have I got? There's a mod. There's a new Contamtonale. Who else? Peter Meyer. Peter does Peter have a wrench? He does not.
I was thinking he didn't.
But he does now.
Awesome.
What else? All right, back to the bottom here. Please don't eat the fish. Oh, Andy J. Willis, would you recommend a mono shrimp for algae control? Yeah, absolutely. 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 Do they have pizza? A pizza gourami. A pizza gourami. Yeah, well, it's not a gourami. It's not a. It's actually, what is it? It's actually. I'm going to get this right now. I think it is a. Oh, what is it called? Um. Oh, nuts! Won't come to me. Oh, come on. Ah, the little tiny fish that school in the ocean are what genera of fish? There are hundreds of species in that genera, and it just won't come to me.
Yeah.
Anchovies are in that genre. Um, alewives are, greenbacks are.
So
What
it's
is
kind of
it
akin to
called?
sardines and anchovies, kind of. That's interesting.
Yeah, anchovy. They're in that genera, and I can't remember the name of the genera. What is it? Oh, it'll come to me when I stop thinking about it. I guess sardines are in that genera, that that family. Yes,
So all the yummy fish.
all the yummy fish. That's right. Well, all the little ones, all the little tiny fish. But there's some that get bigger. I mean, they're members of that species that get big, and that are still very good to eat. What in the world? Hmm. Small leeches. The leeches are food for fish. Fish eat them. They just gobble them down. Herring, herring. I don't think so. Are they herring? Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. Herring, probably. We're all the species of herring. Yeah, I guess that's it. I can't even. I don't even know if it's right. The brain, the poor brain. Herring, lots of different kinds of herring. Yeah, gotta be. We're gonna say it is anyway, till somebody comes up with a better answer. Um, so yeah, herring. Mars. Mars says you have probably. I'm giving him a wrench as I'm talking about him. You've probably kept a Betta sorority before. I hear so many horror stories. The one who attempted advice. Well, here's the thing about a Betta sorority. Bettas bettas spawn when they're young. They spawn. Ah, Brenda just walked in. Let's wonder what the funny. Don't clean that mess up back there. The Anthony's got to clean that up tomorrow. He made the mess. He didn't clean it up. Huh? We'll move it. Okay. Um, what was I talking about? Delicious raw with chopped onions. What's that? Neon tetras? Oh, the Betta sorority. Yeah, we're talking about Betta sorority.
Yeah.
It, I've done a lot of Betta stuff. Ugh. And what I've noticed is that if you're raising up a class of Bettas, a school of Bettas, and they're all kind of brothers and sisters, you can keep them together more or less permanently,
Oh, that's good.
and they won't squabble with each other. Now, at a point, the dominant male will pair off with one or more females. He'll do that one, maybe two times. And then if you've got a lot of pressure in there, in other words, if it's a fairly large group of them, 10 or more, let's say, in a 29-gallon tank, they're not likely to ever breed again because they break up the pattern, the breeding pattern. It just it can't get itself fully together. When they're young, one male becomes dominant. He he represses all the other males, and he can spawn. But that spawn will not survive because the babies will all get eaten up, or the nest will get broken up. So you really can't spawn them in a sorority environment. I like to keep a male with a sorority. Um, because I think it's kind of cool. But there's something that happens in some sororities if you have a group of female bettas that have been together for a few months, 6 months, whatever, and you put a male in with them, they will almost always destroy the male. They'll terrorize him. They'll tear up his fins. They'll chase him. They'll eventually kill him. So a sorority of bettas is not a breeding population. It sort of takes that whole thing away because in order for a female betta, boy, here's a life lesson. In order for a female betta to be a breeder, she must be suppressed by a male. The male must be in a dominant role over the female in order for her to be able to spawn. Otherwise, the male can't do its part and she can't get into the pattern that she needs to get into to actually be able to release eggs. So it's a curious sort of thing with bettas. What I like to do is beef up a male, get a male that's just really healthy, maybe take months to do it, and then buy half a dozen very young, very small, either unsexed or very young female bettas. Unsexed is even better. Grow them up until you begin to see an egg spot on the female, and then float her in a jar with the male. And they will interact with each other through the glass, through the jar. They'll initially be the male will be very intense about it, and he'll begin blowing a nest, and then he'll lose some of that intensity because he realizes he can't get to her. This takes about 1 day, maybe 2 days, not long. At that point, if you release the female, they will spawn in a matter of an hour or less. They'll spawn almost instantly because they're both ready. They simply have needed to be together. All the signals have been transferred. They've gone through the hormonal process of preparing to spawn. They're ready to do it, and they go at it. The spawning process is a 1 to 2 hour process where they're spawning a number of times. And each time the female's releasing eggs, the male's catching them. Occasionally the female will catch them, and sometimes she'll put them in the nest, sometimes she'll eat them. I've seen both. But the male's putting them in the nest, and then at a given point, he is very deliberate and forceful about chasing her off. There's no longer her sneaking back up there to spawn again. He just bang, he's right at it and on it. She's out of there. I'm sure it's because she has no more spawn available. So she's gone. At that point, she needs to be removed. I like to have a floating plant in the bowl so that she can hide in that if she needs to, because he'll kill her if you leave them together long enough. You take her out, and then he will care for the babies. It takes about 2 days for those babies to become free swimming. At that point, the best process is to have done this in a tank that has a deep substrate, that has a food web, that has built up microfauna. So the babies are going to begin feeding right away. They'll begin feeding on that microfauna. In 3 to 4 days, they'll be big enough to feed them either micro worm, although they really can eat that right away, or baby brine shrimp, which they cannot eat right away. It takes them a couple of days of growing for their mouths to be big enough and them to be big enough to be able to eat a single brine shrimp. So that's kind of the process. Um, you can hatch out and raise baby bettas by taking them out of the nest and putting them in a separate container. You can do that. If the eggs fall to the bottom, they will not do as well. They will not hatch at the same rate because they get attacked by the microfauna. They're susceptible to predation by microfauna, which is why the male is keeping them in that bubble nest out of the way of troublemakers. So, Robert DiCarlo, what do you got to say for yourself? Gonna give you a wrench. He says, I just switched my 220 and it's just lost. And where was that? This thing jumped on me. Here it is.
Yeah, it's been jumping like really bad.
Switched my 220 over to dirt and sand after finding your site. Amazed how well my fish took to it. So I just wanted to say thank you real quick. I'm sure I'll have some questions and time. Sounds great, Robert. Do get onto the shoal. Get into the shoal and share. Share your tank. Folks will be really interested. Have I ever used Kinnipang? Um, I don't think I have. I know what it is and I've had it. I use it in cooking. It's kind of like the Scottish. Is that Scottish salt? No, that's something different. They're 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 kind of expensive. I've used the pink salt mainly because it's got a lot of minerals in it. Anchovies or herrings. Thank you, Peter. That was it. It was herrings I was thinking about. Anchovies or herrings. Um, Blue runners are herrings. Herring are herrings. What else is herring?
There's a lot of herrings then.
Yeah, there are all kinds of herrings. There's a big fish that's about gets about that big with black stripes on it. That's called a herring. I don't know. I don't know what specifically it is. Don't clean up those dead flies. Yeah, where is that guy? I gotta find him. He's hit my arm now 3 times.
Yeah, I hate when they do that.
I know. It'll prevent me from sleeping. If I'm
Mhm.
laying here and a fly lands on me, it's like my for whatever reason, my skin is so sensitive to that fly landing on me that it's an irritant.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt, but it irritates.
Yeah, it'll irritate you so much that you just can't sleep. It's like, nope.
Really. Herrings get big. Yeah, there are herrings that'll get a foot long, probably a little bigger. Yep, Foxmaster. A bet has evolved to breathe on the surface. It means there's not a lot of oxygen in the water. Well, right. It means that they're in environments that can easily become depleted of oxygen. That would be shallow water, primarily shallow water. It would be water with a great deal of waste in it, uh, kind of a mud bottom, that sort of thing. Water not heavy in algae, certainly. Bettas breed young in Betta society. Right. Bettas breed most successfully when they're young. A lot of fish do. I had a I had a colony of flower horns once. When flower horns first came out, I was all about them. And I was buying young flower horns. I would buy 6, 8, 10, a dozen, 20 flower horns that were like 1 to 2 inches. Put them all in like a 30-gallon tank and just start feeding them. And within a month or two, two of them would pair off. And I would pull that pair out and put them in the tank, set them up. They would spawn, and I'd pull the eggs out and raise the fry. I did that for years, and that was my system to get pairs and to get them spawning. I always spawned the youngest possible fish. As soon as they're mature, they're ready to go, and they're probably healthier at that stage. Probably better chance of getting healthy spawn. And that's true of virtually all fish. If you want to breed fish, get a group of them premature, group of adolescents, if you will, young fish. Grow them up together, let them pair off. It's especially true with discus, Waru, some of the other Central American cichlids, but it's also, I mean, South American. It's also true with the Central Americans. It's also true with the Africans. It's really true with all cichlids. Trying to breed large, mature fish is essentially an exercise in futility. Now, I've done it. I've done it with Central Americans, but it's so much easier to do when they're young and you grow them up in a group, and the oldest mature two will pair off, pull them out, and they'll spawn right away. You won't have any problems getting fry. And they produce so many fry, you probably won't ever want to do it again. I mean, we're talking thousands of eggs, not just hundreds, thousands. It's ridiculous. You grow them up for a couple of weeks and then start pulling out the biggest ones and growing them up and feed the others as food to your other fish. And then you wind up with 20 to 50 that you're growing out. These are fish that get a foot long. I mean, you really can't grow out more than a very few. So it's kind of problematic. And it's interesting because it's a fish that you would think, because they're magnificent when they get big, you would think would have a really high market value, but just the opposite. They have a very low market value because when they're small, they're not colorful at all. They're very plain looking. They're not necessarily all that easy to keep. They squabble. You get a group of them going, and you're going to lose a couple. They're just kind of a pain in the butt to get them grown out to the point where they're really magnificent fish. So you can buy them cheap, buck, two, three, $4 a piece, $5 tops for a fish that's worth 150, $200, $300 when they get big. Big discus. Case in point, you can't even buy little discus. Nobody will sell them. Mainly, they won't sell them because they want to get them up to like 2 inches so they can
Yeah.
get $10 a piece for them. But if you were to buy little tiny bettas, you wouldn't pay like half an inch. You might pay $1 a piece. You probably wouldn't pay that much for them. Buy a whole school for $20 or something. I did that for years. There was a fellow who was raising bettas. He went to Germany to buy his discus. It was. Brought him back, had a stupendous setup. Raised discus, my God, it was amazing how many discus he had. Couldn't figure out how to sell them. It just, he couldn't do it. He couldn't put them in bags, put them in a cart, and take them to a market. He couldn't do it. And so he wound up quitting after 5 years of breeding these magnificent bettas, discus rather. I went to his place a number of times and just bought out all of his fry for like $100, 1,000 fry. Brought them home, grew them out, sold some off,
Yeah.
lost a bunch. But I did that a number of times. Amazing.
Yeah, it is.
What's going on here? We
Yeah,
don't.
I was just letting people know in the chat that for some reason the chat on my end keeps jumping, so it's kind of hard to find the questions.
To
I'm
go
not
all the
sure
way back.
what's
What
that.
you have to do is when you hit that down arrow, look at
Mhm.
the timestamp first to know
Okay.
where you need to go back to. That's kind of the key. And I always forget to do that. Rodrigo. My name is Rodrigo, and I'm from Brazil. I have a 160-liter Amazonic tank, Witherspoon Severums, low-tech plants. All parameters are okay, pH, DH, What are your recommendations changing water frequently? Why do you ask? Your tank, do what you want to do. My recommendation is I do not change water frequently. I just never do that because I don't see the value of it. Why do you do that? Why would you want to do that? What would be the point of it? You're getting rid of perfectly good water for the sake of what? Other water that's not perfectly good? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Up to a point, the longer that water is in the tank, the better the water is for the fish. So why would you get rid of water that is custom made for the fish and replace it with water that's raw that might well stress the fish? It's just part of the stupidity and the arrogance of an industry that for the last 50 years has been teaching fish keeping skills that are predicated upon their ability to make money, not your ability to keep fish alive. And that's God's own truth.
Yeah, it is. And that's
They
one of the
do it to
reasons
make
why I
they,
don't do water changes.
they do it to make money.
Yeah, that's
Why do
it.
you want to do it? You do it to make money. The guys, the guys who are the biggest fish tubers who are into regular water changes are supporting the industry deliberately, and the industry is paying them to do it. So I don't think they have any credibility.
Yeah, I agree. And
Lizards,
it's
axolotl, lizards, not quite. Salamanders, I don't give you lizards. Salamanders, lizards and salamanders ain't the same thing. Let's see. Dean saying axolotls are opportunistic. Yeah, that's true. They'll bite anything that goes down near them. They're blind. They can't tell. Now they do learn. They do learn the signal. They do have a sensory line, so they can feel like a worm moving in the water. I feed mine worms, and they'll go to it. They'll go right to them. I have dropped this mouse on the floor now 6 times. There's something wrong with the way I'm holding it. It's too close to the edge. Back up. Uh, Chat keeps jumping.
yeah.
Chat
I
just
think I've got it fixed finally.
Tremaine says, should I have my aquarium lights 4 to 6 inches over my planet tank? Well, it depends entirely on the light. If it's a fluorescent light, yeah, that's about right. If it's an LED, they can be 6 foot above the tank, and they will shoot a straight beam down to the bottom of the tank. It's sort of with LEDs, it really doesn't matter. The higher, probably the better within reason. But if you've got an LED 3 foot above the tank, you've got total penetration. It's because the beam does not cone. It doesn't go like that. It goes like this. Some of them have little concave reflectors in with the bulb with the diode sitting way up inside it. So as the light is reflected onto that cone, onto that concave cone, it'll bounce off and will do like this and cone out more. But it's not going to do it a lot. I mean, it's not going to be like a regular LED or a regular. I didn't mean to say that, a regular fluorescent light or an incandescent light. That light goes like this. It spreads out. LED light is a beam. It's a single beam of light that goes straight and nothing stops it except a hardscape, a hard surface that the light can't penetrate. Otherwise, it penetrates water all the way to the bottom, which makes LEDs especially good for very low growing things in the tank because it'll get light down to like carpeting plants. Yes, they do, Mike. Axolotls are carnivorous. They are worse than carnivorous. They are, what's the word? They eat each other. They can eat each other. They're
Cannibalistic.
they're cannibalistic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, they don't need to eat much, and they don't need to eat regularly. I feed mine about once a week, and I'll feed them worms mostly. I do have pellets, and once in a while, every couple of days, I'll throw a few pellets in, which I think they get. I've watched them early on eat them. I assume they still do. Um, but I'll feed worms, and I usually will buy earthworms, big worms, and break them into like 1 to 2 inch pieces. These guys are about 8 inches long. Break them into fairly small pieces. They will not eat a 6 inch earthworm. It'll lay there and die. They won't eat it. They can't get it down, I guess. But the pieces, couple inch piece, I'll break it up, throw it in, rinse my hands, and I'm done with it. I used to cut them, but that's kind of silly. They're easy enough to just kind of squeeze apart. I get two or three pieces out of a worm and toss it in there. I'll feed 2 worms. They'll each get the equivalent of a worm once a week. Now they have not spawned, and I've had them for not quite a year, probably 10 to 11 months. They should have spawned this spring. I assume they didn't because I assume they were underfed and just never developed eggs. So I'm planning to move them into the shop. I'll probably have to put them outside, out in the warehouse because it gets too warm in here. So I'll probably put them out there where it stays cooler, and put them in a tank, probably a 40, and try to do better feeding them because I really would like to get them to spawn. But at this point, they probably won't spawn until next year. Hard to say.
Hopefully they will.
They might. Rodrigo, do you have a wrench? Yes. What else?
Well, Robert DiCarlo has a really good question. Is there a rule of thumb for how much microfauna you should have in your fish tank? Meaning, can you overdo it? And that's a good question. Can you overdo it?
Can you overdo it? I don't think so. Because if the population, if you've got fish in there, the population will get so heavy there'll be a lot of them free swimming, and they'll all get gobbled up. So that'll be the food source. The excess population, if you will be the food source. So the control is in predation. And I think that's probably going to be a pretty solid control. If you have no predation, um, yeah, they will grow until the population crashes. Theoretically, they'll become so. Like Daphne will do this. If you get a Daphne population, get them going, and you're feeding them green water,
Mhm.
and you're leaving them in there and just pumping them all the time, that population will reach a point where it will crest and then collapse. They'll have so many in there that it won't be the system won't be able to support them, and that you'll just have a huge die off. It won't be 100%. It'll die back to a more stable level. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't believe it's anything you need to be concerned about. I think the reality is that the opposite is more commonly the problem, and the opposite is simply um, not having enough. Not and that's essentially a factor of not having enough cover for the population to be able to grow in and live in without predation. In other words, there's a leaf bed that's an inch thick, and most of those guys are living in the bottom half inch of it, and the fish never get down there. So they're under no particular pressure. It's not until they come out of that they get eaten, but they can spend their whole lives down in that. Some fish will come into it and root around, and some may be better rooters than others. But by and large, they're going to be able to have a pretty stable population. Particularly if you have something like a piece of wood or a couple of pieces of wood laying on the bottom, or even rocks that things like scuds can get under because they'll live under hardscape. That's how they avoid predation. Noel wants to know if Dina does water change. Dean, Dean keeps axolotls. What about a black piranha in one of your deep substrate?
Be cool.
Well, piranha are not diggers. They're opportunistic feeders. They don't feed on vegetable matter, to my knowledge. They feed on um, other fish, typically dead fish or dead stuff like dead birds or whatever. They're pretty easy to feed. You can put cut fish in there, even chicken, um, but they don't do anything at all to the bottom. They don't. They ignore it. In point of fact, you can have a lot of plants growing with piranha, and they'll be perfectly at home in that. It's not normal for them because they tend to live out in open water where there are not plants growing. But they certainly are tolerant of plants, and they wouldn't have a problem with plants. They're not going to chew them up or beat them up. They're not going to dig them up. They're going to swim around and a piranha is actually probably a very good fish to keep in a deep substrate planted tank. I'll tell you another fish that's very good to keep in that kind of a tank is arowana. They get big, of course, but then so do piranha get big. Um, but they don't bother plants. They don't bother the substrate. They're up and moving about all the time. They're in the water column. They never really go down to the bottom. Yeah, Doom Pie is saying, I see that in outside buckets. They grow and after a while they die off, and then later the bucket's loaded again. So yeah, you have this bell curve kind of growth pattern. If
That
you're
definitely
tied to
explains
a
what's been happening.
pardon?
I said that definitely explains what's been happening with my Daphne culture because they keep crashing no matter what I do.
Well, you need to feed them out.
Yeah.
When the population gets up there, feed them.
Mhm.
Pull 90% of them out and feed them. I mean, that's where you're growing them, so do it.
Exactly.
You get a big population of them. Take as many as you can catch out because the rest of them that are in there are going to restore that population in a
Mhm.
matter of a week or so. Oh my God. Eerie. You're not, that's nonsense.
What did you do
I
now?
mean, I know paradise are one of the meanest fish alive, and I kind of half believe it. But I can't see one paradise putting down 10 piranha. Mainly,
Yeah.
unless you're feeding the piranha, they're going to get hungry, and that'll be prey. Piranha is another cannibal fish. They'll eat each other if they're hungry enough. They just
Wow.
bite anything that comes near them. In the wild, they're normally not all that hungry because there's more than enough to eat.
Mhm.
No fish clubs in Virginia. Oh yeah, there are. Oh yeah, there are. Potomac Valley, I think it's in Virginia, isn't it? That's one of the biggest fish clubs. It's up near D.C., but I think it's in Virginia. If not, it's just over the line. Um, Capitol Aquarium is in Virginia. That's in, I don't know where. It's west of D.C. in Virginia. A lot of good shops in northern Virginia. Where are you, Mr. Teresa? Since you're probably south, probably too far south. Start your own. I'm going to start a club. I'm going to do that. We're going to start a club here sometime in the next couple of months. And we will document every step of it. We'll document the meetings, we'll document everything to show you how to start a club. I've started, Lord knows how many, half a dozen clubs. A couple of them are still running.
That's awesome.
Um, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. You just get together with a couple of other fish people. Yeah, the trick is finding them. You got to
Yeah.
find them, and you find one first fish person, they're going to know another one. So it's a chain kind of thing. So you put that chain together until you get three or four, then you get together and you have a meeting. You meet in somebody's home and you share fish. And wow, wasn't that cool? We got to eat something, we got to see fish, we got to talk about fish. Let's get together again next month and do this again. Let's go to John's house. I want to see his fish. Within within 3 to 4 months, you got a dozen people.
Yeah.
And then within a year, you got 25 people and you got to have a hall to meet in. So it really doesn't take long to build a club. And then you get in touch with other clubs and learn how to put it together and what some of the real important aspects of club building are all about.
That would be an awesome video. Oh, Ari actually has a genuine question. He says, "What do you think of Cyclops for baby shrimp for food?"
I don't know, cyclops or maybe shrimp. I don't think they'll eat them. They're not looking for anything that's moving around. They're a sedentary eater. They eat detritus. They eat what's on the bottom. They'll eat algae. They'll eat waste. They'll eat vegetable matter. They'll eat whatever is laying there. They'll eat something dead, but they don't have the ability to catch anything. Shrimp don't have that skill.
That makes
They
sense.
can grab hold of something and tear it, but they can't catch it with their claws. Some crabs can, some lobsters can, some crayfish can. Shrimp really can't do that. Willie Maver used to have red bellies. They were skittish and would hide, but that was before I had a deep substrate. Our friend just set up a father fish and wants a piranha. Go for it. Go for it. The black ones you have to keep by themselves. You can keep a school of red bellies. They'll do okay. But the black, you can't keep two blacks together. I had a black once that was about dinner plate size, pretty good size. I had it in a tank in my office at a church I was serving. And some kids broke in at night, broke into the church and stole the piranha out of the tank. I couldn't even imagine. I went around the local pet shop to see if they tried to sell it. Couldn't find it. I don't know what they did.
That's
It was
wild.
just bizarre. They actually saw. I was kind of hoping it bit them or something.
Right?
Uh, I didn't see blood anywhere. A fight club. Is it a fight club? Not really. Not really. If you freeze the cyclops, well, sure. If they're dead, they'll be eaten. They'll eat anything dead. They can't chase things. But yeah, if you can kill them, that'll work. You can feed that. Happy Memorial Day, says Victor. Indeed, indeed. In Chesapeake. Yeah, that's a funny area, Chesapeake, Virginia. There might not be a club there. What is this? Salient Aquatics. Once you receive your magic recipe about what do you think about turning it into a stream together on my channel? If you guide me while I put it together. Um, yeah, I'd be willing to do that. That's fine. You've been doing a lot of streaming. It's a good way to get your hours up, to get those 2 or 4,000 hours, whatever it is. Streaming really is the best way to do that. So it's kind of worth doing. Yeah, just let me know. We can work something out. That'd be fine. Happy to do it. Why not? The cyclops won't eat my baby shrimp. Now you're asking the opposite question. Well, cyclops, I don't know that cyclops will. Um, scuds might. Scuds might eat baby shrimp. I wouldn't put it past them because they scoot around pretty quick and they scoot around on the bottom. And I would assume their speed is a function of catching stuff. So that might well happen. Crebensis. I have three crebensis and a pisto geo rainbow, two tiger barb, and a 55. And it's heavily planted. Nice. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fish and a 55. And they're all 1-inch fish. Well, I would add another 3 or 4 fish a week for the next, oh, I don't know, 12, 24, the next 3 or 4 months. And get it up there. If they're going to be that size, I've got a 65 up here with one pair of rams, German blue rams, one pair of crebensis, one pair of festivum, which is a gourami, and I think one cory catfish, 6, 7 fish. Um, and I'm looking to get them all spawning, to get the 3 pairs spawning simultaneously. I think the cribbies are already ahead of it. The rams are ready. The festivums spawned in my tank at the house, but they haven't tried to do anything here. I've got these gold gouramis in the other tank. They're blowing a huge bubble nest. or the male is, and the female is egged up. She's pretty chubby, so I think they'll get something. Best place. Oh, selling it. That was $4.99. What else we got here?
Let's see.
There's the other super chat. Very good. Look forward to it. That'll be fun. What are we doing time wise? 7:30. We got about 40 minutes. Uh, Laser worm.
The super sunfish, he's got a question for you. How do you catch fish in a heavily planted tank and lots of wood aquarium? I am trying to get 3 corridoras.
Well, first of all, you need a large net,
Mhm.
minimum 9-inch wide net. 12 inches is better, but a 9-inch will work. And the trick is you want to put the net in toward the back of the tank, move it forward, making sure that you're getting that fish in position so you can trap it against the front glass. You flatten the net right up against the front glass, trapping that fish in the bag. And then if you lift it straight up quickly, you'll have the fish in the bag. You may need to tap on the glass to get it to go to the back of the net to assure that when you come up, it's not going to slip out. But if you come up quickly, you'll be able to trap it in the net. That's a way to be able to catch fish without disturbing the tank at all. You can use a little stick or a probe to get them toward the front. You get that net up there a couple inches away from it, get them in front of it, and then bring it right up against the front, and you'll have them trapped. Then it's simply a matter of coming up quickly to be able to catch them in the bag. The net will bag out a certain amount. So you'll be able to catch them in that bag. And that works without disturbing anything. It's really, it takes a little practice, but it's a very simple and very effective way to catch any fish of any size, big or little, with that big net because they don't see the net coming. They don't treat the net as something chasing them. It's not a predator that they're trying to get away from. It's part of the environment. It's big enough that it's not something um, that they're going to dart away from. Two are helpful. Well, if your tank is open enough that you can do this kind of thing, that works. But most tanks are not. So using two nets, unless you use them side by side, you could do that. I find the probe is an easier way to do it because that's really what you're doing with two nets anywhere, using one as a probe to get the fish to move toward where the other one will be able to trap it. Don't think chasing, think trapping. That's the big difference. If you're trying to catch a fish by chasing it, it will outrun you. It will run you ragged. And if you finally do catch it, it will be so stressed out that it could be sick or die. So you really don't want to use a little tiny net to catch a fish, even if it is a little net. There are always exceptions. Here's the exception. The exception is a betta in a bowl. Now, I don't use a net when I catch a betta in a bowl. I use my hand. I trap it against the glass, and then I will close my hand around it so it can't go anywhere. I've got my hand totally closed. The bed is inside my hand. I'm not squeezing it, mind you. There's an air pocket in there, or a water pocket, as it were, and I can move to wherever I want to put them and release them. I do that routinely. I don't even think about it. It's so simple. Dooby doo. Is there a way to target trap MTS with other types of snails? It's kind of my standard question. Why would you want to? MTS is probably one of the most important snails you can have in a tank because it acts as an earthworm in your substrate. They are a subterranean snail. If you find them coming up at night, they're simply coming up to get up to the top and take a breath of air. They're coming up in the dark where you normally never even see them. But they are keeping your tank healthy. Let's see, we did that one, didn't we? I need to get down to the bottom here. What else? Your fish are happy when you talk to them while catching them. Yeah, that's true. Sing them a little song. Can you seed a UNS soil tank with no sand cap, with decaying leaves and some mud? You can, but here's the problem. The water is going to dissolve out the minerals in the soil. This was the problem um, that Walstead found with her dirted tank. After about a year, the soil was depleted of nutrients and would no longer grow anything. So one of the many functions of sand is to hold the nutrients down in the substrate in the dirt and in the sand as it migrates up into the sand and keep them out of the water column, which you're not going to be able to do without a sand cap. If you have just dirt, even if you got leaf mulch in there, that water is going to be dissolving out the nutrients in the soil and bringing them into the water column. It'll cause a lot of other things to grow, algae among them, but ultimately, after about a year, that soil will be completely depleted and you'll have to basically start all over again. Peace, love, puppies. Well, you got a big box on its way to you. I'm surprised you haven't had it by now. I don't remember what day we shipped it.
Was it?
Tuesday, might have been Wednesday.
It was either
It
Tuesday or
was
Wednesday, I
it
think.
was Tuesday or Wednesday when we shipped that. Might have been Wednesday. I don't remember. Probably was Wednesday. So you didn't get it over the weekend, which means you're not going to get it until Tuesday now. But you should definitely get it Tuesday. Fortunately, there's nothing in there that is going to go bad. So the driftwood will be just fine.
And you've got
And
some amazing driftwood
yeah,
coming. I've seen
yeah,
it.
I think we had some other little gifts in there for you. But you'll, but none of them I think were perishable.
I'll keep that in
Can you
mind.
do? What else? What else? Who delivers at UPS, FedEx? Um, we use USPS and UPS. Now, I had something happen this week that I'm disturbed about. I shipped a UPS box of soil to Massachusetts. It was on a UPS label. It wound up at USPS, which charged an additional $20 to deliver it.
Wow.
So I need to track that, and that $20 is more than double what it would have cost to ship it by USPS to begin with. So I'm more than a little disconcerted about that. In addition to which, I also paid UPS to deliver it. So I need to find out what that's all about. That'll be a job. That'll be a job for got him. That'll be a job. That'll be a job for Tuesday. Boy, that works real well. Wow, my back is itchy. I'm slapping it with.
Hey, it works.
That's as good as scratching. Wow,
Hey, it doubles as a back scratcher.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to scratch. It doesn't scratch, but boy, it slaps good. It got delayed. Uh, well, shipping to California, I'm not too surprised. Here by Thursday, that's a pretty major delay. I'll have to look that one up. I don't remember how we shipped it either. Probably UPS. I don't remember.
I think it was UPS, but I can't remember either.
I think it was too. Yeah, I've been trying UPS. What I've discovered is in the process of doing this, I discovered that there were cheaper USPS rates. I was shipping priority flat rate, which is like $15. So what I discovered is that there's priority based on weight, and the price for that varies. So in the process of switching over and doing some UPS, I've discovered cheaper ways to ship USPS. And I felt like, well, maybe UPS was going to be better at getting 2 days delivered in 2 days, but I'm seriously doubting that.
Yeah.
So I may wind up just dropping UPS altogether. It costs me 30 some bucks a week to use UPS.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'm really saving any money over what it would cost to ship postal service instead. And in some cases, postal service is cheaper. So I'm probably going to wind up going back to the postal service. I could do FedEx, but I'm not even sure I want to get into it. FedEx is probably better. I can get FedEx delivered guaranteed overnight. I can't do that with UPS or USPS. They will not guarantee overnight. FedEx will. So that might be what I wind up doing. I don't know about cost though. And part of the problem is that Shopify does not have a contract with FedEx. They do with UPS and USPS. And that's how I get my labels printed through Shopify. So I might not be able to do it anyway with FedEx. I don't know. We'll see. All right. What else? Birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks, says Dusty Steele. Might order some driftwood, dwarf lily, and maybe ferts. Honest to God. Honest to God. Ferts. Dusty's ordering fertilizer. You go ahead and order fertilizer from me. See what you get. See, just try it and see what you get. I think I probably ought to create a fertilizer item with what shall I call it? Shipper's choice. I won't do anything crude. I promise you that. I will not do anything crude, vulgar, obscene, or otherwise genuinely nasty. Won't do that. But it might be humorous. Might be. Deacon, message retracted. Oh, what did he say? What did he say?
But
Big alarm. Big alarm. We don't use fertilizer around here. That's right.
but yeah, Father Fish has got some really cool driftwood. Check this out.
Oh, I do. Oh, yeah. You got some nice pieces.
Yeah, this is really good driftwood.
I got one. I got one here. Look at that. Showing off our driftwood.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is really pretty driftwood.
No, I won't do that, Stan. I just said I won't do that. Don't soil the package. Right. I might soil. That's probably what I would do, in truth. I probably would ship a bag of supplement. I mean, that would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
A
that
jar of
would.
mold. That's a thought. Jar of mold. Bag of poop. Supplement. I probably would do supplement. You know what we could do? We could call the supplement a fertilizer alternative. We're doing all this sea-free. We could do the supplement as the alternative to um, fertilizer and CO2, chemical ferts and CO2. Well, looks like everybody got bored. You get bored, I get bored.
I'm not bored.
Ain't never bored,
Right? Always find something to do.
really. Dooby doo, fake roach. Oh, Dusty, yeah, I knew you were. I knew you were trolling me, Dusty. I did know that. Uh, we're down to about 20 minutes. We need to do something. I can fiddle around here and try to get the song up. Shall I do that? It probably won't work. I'll probably just frustrate myself. I usually do.
HQ has a question for you. You advised
Hi,
me to.
Grandpa. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, good. You go ahead.
Well, you read it, and I'm going to give him moderator status.
Okay. Hi, Grandpa. You advised me to support a small biotope. I got algae and soil from a lake, put them in a bucket in my yard with some stones. Should I change the water?
No, no, it's going to rain in it, so that's all the water change you'll need. No need to ever change that water. Um, and there's no advantage to it at all. But that'll be fun. That'll be good.
Yeah, that
You
will
should
be.
get a lot of cool stuff in there. Epsom salt in the tank. No.
I've never
I'm
heard
going
of
to
that.
say no. Use Epsom salt in a hospital tank where you need to control bacteria.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I have not put any salt in any tanks in years. Now my water is hard, so there's kind of no point in it. But I don't see the value of putting salt in water. Used to do it, used to believe in it because they said, "Yeah, put salt in your water." And okay. I can put salt in my water. Why do you do that? Well, because they told me to. So I got to do it because they told me to. Who told you? Oh, the man with the fish at the fish store. He said, put salt in the water. No, wasn't that. Where was it? It was a book I read. No, wasn't that. Who was it? Somebody told me put salt in my water. I don't remember, but I got to put salt in my water. It's like that, you know.
Mm.
What you do in your tank is what you have learned to do by trial and error, and not by what somebody told you to do. And that somebody includes Father Fish. Don't do it because I said to do it. Check it out, try it if you want to, see what happens, see if it works for you, come to an understanding. Got him.
We got to start keeping score on these.
Really. Don't do what somebody else tells you to do. Now, having said that, we have a book coming out. So this is not to say that you should dismiss everything out of hand. You certainly can and should very carefully determine who you're going to listen to because they're doing what you want to do and they're doing it successfully. And if you believe they are being honest with you and sincere about helping you, then you definitely should take their advice and accept their assistance. But don't listen to some 12-year-old blowing smoke on Facebook and take it as gospel
Mhm.
because it's no such thing. It's ignorance parading itself as wisdom. Like that. Magnesium sulfate. Yeah, it's a salt. Good salt versus cheap salt. Plants do like salt, but and they like more salt than most people think. Mainly because they strip KH out of the water column. They strip um, dissolved minerals out of the water column. What do we got here? You got eight. We got to do this. Let me do this. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Gonna run the gamut here now. Run this. Run the who's it. As I bring them up. As I bring them up, Dina, read them because I can't read them. They're too far away.
Okay. Well, this is the complete soil supplement for a 55-gallon tank, and it's got everything you need in it. It's really easy. You just dump the bag into a 55-gallon tank, add water. It's already got the father fish supplement, the humus, the compost, everything. And that's a really easy way. But if you like measuring stuff out and really more doing it yourself, the father fish supplement, it's awesome. You can get it where it will do 100 gallons or like me, a bunch of small tanks. And it's the magic that goes into the soil because then you don't have to use fertilizers. Your tank will last. It has enough food in it to last for 5 years. So it's awesome. That's the complete soil substrate for the 25-gallon. All you got to do is dump it into the 25-gallon tank and you're good to go. Also works on 20-gallon or a 30-gallon, right, Father Fish? Am I right on that?
Right.
Okay. Then the 10-gallon, it's got everything you need in it, the supplement, the compost, soil. You just dump it in a 10-gallon tank or split it in half and dump it in 5-gallon tanks. And then we got some Father Fish merch. You can check that out. New designs are coming every week. If you want anything custom, message me on either Instagram, which is linked to my YouTube account, or you can message me on Discord. Either one. And then we've got the stem plant deal. You get 15 bunches of stem plants. The stem plant bunches range between 4 and 5 plants per bunch. And these things are awesome. That's what I've got in my 75-gallon tank. And one of them has already grown this much and is floating across the water. I mean, they grow like crazy. And then you got the rooted pack deal. You get 15 varieties. It can be swords, Vallisneria, Sagittarius. always mess up that word. Crips or the Farmer's Choice. It can be pretty much any of those, and that is a really nice package.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, still have to add sand on top. That's right, John. I do not sell sand. Um, it's just prohibitive to sell it. What I would have to charge just for shipping would be
Yeah,
more than it costs. Sand is something most people can get it free out off the beach, out of the backyard, from a desert, any kind of dry sandy place.
mhm.
And you can buy it cheap for like $5 at Lowe's. Um, Construction sand, any kind of sand, any sand at all will do.
That
Really doesn't matter.
I love the pool filter sand just because of how coarse it is, and I don't have to wash it, so I love it.
Yeah, I like the pool filter sand. It's clean, it's
Hmm.
graded, it's really a nice product. I've used it for years. The play sand is good. Now, if you're going to use the play sand or any of the other construction sands, then you need to put the dirt in the tank, put the sand on top before you put the water in, and then cover it, put the water in without stirring up that sand, and all of that dust will stay down in there and will benefit the substrate. So, dirty sand is preferable if you use it properly. If you cannot pour it through the water column because the tiny particles are so tiny they will stay in suspension permanently and they will eventually clog the gills of the fish and they'll die. So it's a terrible thing to do. But if you do it the way I suggested, that dust will never get into the water column. It's going to stay down in there in that sand. And it will be inhabited by bacteria, by detritus, by other animals and bugs and whatever, and will be highly beneficial. There you go, Dina. Wilbond wants a shirt with a pleco on it. A father fish pleco, no less. We got one. We got one. Where is that?
Yeah, I need to get
Uh,
all the rest of the graphics uploaded.
it's
Yeah, I've
on
actually
my
got like a
on my Discord. If you go to my Discord, um, what's the decal that we each
yeah.
have? On that is a picture of a father fish catfish.
I haven't seen that one. Okay,
Yeah,
I've got to check that one out.
check that one out. I'll send it to you if I see it every once in a while. It was done by an artist we had on board, a year or two ago. Just just really clever, really fun. Dave likes the sticker. I like sending stickers. Didn't wash your blasting sand. Did you pour it in the water? Is that what happened? Blasting sand's funny stuff. I have gotten it in three different, um, what do I want to call grades, I guess. Coarse, fine, and talcum powder. And the talcum powder really caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And I'm dumping it in an upended this bag, dumping the bag in the tank, and it's powder. I mean powder. Now I wasn't poured it in water. I was pouring it on top of the dirt I'd put in. So I didn't quite know what to do. I put it in and then put another bag of coarser sand on top of it. That tank is at Super Cichlids in Dover, Delaware. It has been an amazingly stable plant that's growing a stable tank that's growing all kinds of plants very, very prolifically. It's been a wonderful tank. So that powdery stuff in there has really been beneficial. Who knew?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Mary Caps has a question for you, Father Fish. I've
Yeah,
got a small. Oh, you saw it?
go ahead, you read it.
I've got a small peace lily, but soil. It was fertilized with Jobs
Good
Spice
spikes,
for Life.
houseplant.
Houseplants. I want to put it in a basket with roots and plants above the water. The fertilizer has been worried.
Um, you probably can, if you've got a deep substrate and it's not, if it's like a tank that's 12, 14 inches deep, you can put it in the substrate. And enough of that stem will be above water. The leaves will all be above water. And that'll work fine. You can do that. If it's too deep a tank, you can't get away with it. But you could do something a little higher, put a pot on something a little higher in the tank. So it would be like maybe 6 or 8 inches down into the tank, and that would work. Just do your pot with soil, seal the bottom, soil, sand on top, stick the plant in there, and then go ahead and put it in the tank. It'll work fine. It'll be perfectly fine. Well, all I wanted to suggest was that peace lilies do grow in water, and they grow in water that's a foot to 2 foot deep. They'll come up. The leaves and flower have to be out of the water, but that stem will come right up out of the water. So you can do that. You might be able to get it going in the tank in the substrate. Worried about fertilizer from roots hurting the fish? No, fertilizer hurts the roots of the plants because it prevents the roots from growing naturally because the plant doesn't need to go searching for nutrients. They're just stuck right in its mouth. As a result, it gets fat and lazy. It'll grow leaves and stems and flowers. It'll be beautiful. But the minute that fertilizer is not there, that plant is going to suffer, it will wither, and it will die because it does not have the root structure to find the nutrients it needs to keep itself flourishing. That's one reason not to use fertilizer. It ain't the only one. Rotella rotundifolia, orange juice for it to color. Never heard of that. Interesting. There are a lot of, well, iron will work too. And iron's a whole lot easier to add to the supplement. Yeah, I don't think so, Dusty. Yeah, I did understand her to say that, and I kind of dismissed it because I don't think it's an issue. I would not be concerned about that. You can rinse the roots off. Really, no need to. I mean, you can do it. It won't hurt anything, but you really don't need to. And you're right, chlorine, rinsing roots will not hurt anything. Plecostomus or Pentecostals? Well, that's curious. How are Plecostomus Pentecostals? That's strange. Strange and wonderful, but actually more strange than wonderful, I think. How are Plecostomus Pentecostals? Other than the fact that they're both big words that start with a letter P.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
And they both
know.
end in F, so I have
I
no
don't
idea.
think they. I don't think they are. The more I think about what a pleco is and what a Pentecostal is, I don't think they've got anything at all to do with each other. I mean, I would have to take this up with some plecos. Pentecostals aren't going to know one way or the other, nor for that matter will plecos. But I could surmise something, perhaps. Surmise. Rotalabasi grew pink to orange leaves. How pretty. Very nice. Best way to grow Java moss. Best way to grow Java moss. Attach it to hardscape. You can put it on if you get some. I like green fine monofilament, like um, very thin monofilament. What's the test? 2 tests, 3 tests, 5 tests. Something very fine, and just wrap it and tie it with monofilament. The monofilament kind of disappears, um, and it'll hold. The moss is pretty tenacious, so it'll hold it on pretty well. You don't need a lot. You don't need to wrap it and wrap it and wrap it. Just like 2 times around will hold a clump of it. That'll work pretty well because it keeps it kind of in the water column, keeps water flowing through it, and that's important because it needs to pull nutrients out of the water column, keeps it up and in where water is flowing. EWF, you're very welcome. Thank you. Get you a wrench. Right there. We're down to it, Dina.
Yep.
We are down to it. Can you just wedge hydrocodal tripartite on a hard scale? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A piece of driftwood like this that has kind of nooks and crannies in it. Well, this one's, yeah, it's got a few here. You can wedge stuff down in there. That'll hold it pretty well. You see some of the
That's a really
kind
good
of
tip.
spaces I'm talking about, and like that. You can stick something up in there.
Hmm.
That works. If you add red tiger lotus and other plants, what are we talking about? I don't know. Red tiger lotus. What about it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm curious about too.
Mike, I think there's a new Java fern variety with some color. Sunset Java fern? I don't know. I haven't seen that yet. Um, Maybe he's just talking about color.
Yeah,
Red tiger lotus as a new color form. Yeah, I haven't seen that either, but I expect there will be a lot of that coming out because there's tiger lettuce has become a very popular plant, and we sell a lot of it. Some alchemy associated with it. Well, that may well be. That may well be. Need of the red plants need to be fed by the substrate and fish waste first. Yep. Right. A rubber band. Yeah, rubber band works well. Absolutely. What do I think about testing Carrie Metcalf ones? I think it's by and large a waste of time and tends to cause more stress than it resolves. Tends to create more problems because it puts people in a frame of mind where they feel like they have to do something to change the water.
hmm
And that's always a bad idea. So I don't think it's beneficial particularly. All righty. We are down to it, boys and girls. We have hit the 8 o'clock mark.
Yep.
And I'm worn out. It's hot in here. I'm tired. I'm probably
Yeah.
hungry. I'm going to need to get something to eat. My second burger for the day, I expect. Oh boy, here's one. I bought a gallon jug of diet lemonade
Mhm.
from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
12 bucks. 12 bucks for a gallon. It's the best lemonade in the world, hands down, no lie.
Yeah.
But I drank a big glass, like 16 ounces of this, went to bed early. My
Mhm.
legs cramped up so bad I was in
Ooh.
pain.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if the lemon did it. Is that possible?
Well, it could be the lemon or the artificial sugar because it's sugar free, right?
Yeah, I guess.
The sucrose that could cause it because that's
Oh,
what they
that's
use a lot of times with artificial
uh, uh,
sweeteners
uh.
is sucrose, and
Oh,
it can
really?
definitely cause leg cramps.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Sugar.
can
Yeah,
aspartame.
the main saying the sugar.
Hmm.
If you're on a diet, drink water. Yeah, I don't drink a lot of it, but I just love it. I
Yeah.
really, it just, I, I do drink water. Not enough, but I drink. Definitely the sugar sweetener, Dusty says. All right, appreciate hearing that. Powerade Zero is better. Some of their new Powerade flavor stuff is really cool. Had
Yeah.
some of that. Could also be from not drinking enough.
Oh yeah, it can do that.
But, yeah. Simply brand lemonade. All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Love you all. The in the wild video is coming on strong. Please get over there and give it a boost.
Yes.
Share it if you can. If you could share it, that would be an enormous big help. Post it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you go. Just post the link. That would be of enormous value.
Yeah.
If we had 100 people sharing that video, but we'd probably get to 100,000 in a month. It would be amazing. Banana cures cramps. You know, it's exactly what I thought of was getting a banana,
I
but
didn't know to do that.
it was
Wow.
11 o'clock at night. I had
Yeah.
nowhere to get a banana, and bananas don't keep real well. I could freeze bananas, I guess,
Now
but
that might work. Freeze dry them.
I don't think I'd want to eat them. All right, we're done. Love you all. Be back Wednesday. See you Wednesday night for show and tell. I've got shorts coming out every day this week that are from the In the Wild video. So
Mhm.
get on them, check them, um, view them, and then jump into the video. Stay there for at least. Boy, my pump is hooked up to the light. Didn't want to do that. I need to fix that. That's interesting. I thought about it and then didn't notice.
I
It just
finally
went
got
out.
the link to the Into the Wild video. I'll include that in the comments, you guys. Just click on that,
Stupid.
like it,
Okay.
share it. It's an awesome video.
Yeah, Mike says that the lemonade is not from concentrate. No, it's not. It's got a lot of pulp in it. It's really, really good. Okay, okay. Oh, that he's talking about simply is not from concentrate. Didn't know that. I will do that.
That sounds good.
All right. We're bye bye. Love you all.
Love you guys.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.